Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Welcome to Track Talk, your connection coast to coast and beyond in all the latest news, developments, stake race analysis, and interviews inside the world of thoroughbred horse racing. From California to New York, Florida, and Kentucky, we have you covered. It's post time, live from San Diego. It's Track Talk. And we welcome you from a beautiful San Diego, California on a Chamber of Commerce morning, like 80 degrees here in San Diego. What a great program we have. Quickly, I want to go out to Tommy D. Welcome you, Tommy D. How's everything on a Saturday morning?
Good morning, Felix. Everything's going good. As you said, a little warm here in San Diego, but great day of racing. Alabama at Saratoga, Del Mar. Great cards on both sides. I thought good horse racing to talk about, and the payouts have been enormous, Felix. If you're paying attention, Saratoga yesterday, $615,000 for the late pick 5. If you connected the dots, pretty good, Felix. So good payouts, and I think today we could see some nice payouts at both Del Mar and Saratoga.
Without any question about that, $655,000 in the pick 5 yesterday. And amazing that the prices in Saratoga has always been a mystery, the graveyard of favorites. But without any question, today we got a great card back on the East Coast at Saratoga. We got the Alabama, as you mentioned. And on the West Coast here at Del Mar, the racing at Del Mar has been very, very good. We want to abbreviate what we're doing right now because our guest is online, and I appreciate him being on, and I really mean that because every time I've reached out to him, he's been there. Trainer Kenny McPeek is joining us. I hope he's at Saratoga. Kenny, how are you, and where's your location?
I'm doing good. I'm actually out on the south end of Saratoga Lake. We rent a house up here for the summer. It's only about 10 minutes from here to the track, and it's a really slice of heaven up here. People ought to check it out.
Yeah, I know. Even with the with all the ramifications that are going on, you're still enjoying yourself back there on the East Coast.
Oh yeah, it's unusual to attend races at tracks like Saratoga. Nobody's there, but the show's gone on, and a lot of people are watching, even if it is at a distance, and the racing's high level, and no complaints.
Kenny McPeek, you have been one of our all-time favorites being on this radio program. It seems every time you come on, magic happens. You have 2 running today back at Saratoga in the Alabama. Share with us about both of them.
They're apples and oranges. En Boutante's in the 1 hole. This is a filly we've been pointing towards this race for a while, and we felt like it was her best chance to win a Grade 1. She's very talented. She was 3rd in the Ashland last time, but she is. We're going to try to adjust her pace in the race, and we're going to probably take her back and then make a run with her. But she's a good filly in her own. She's regular workmate with Swiss Skydiver, and Swiss is probably the more known of the 2 because of her wins in California and Arkansas and Florida. But it's going to be an exciting race. I won it a couple of years ago, and you can't assume anything. It's never easy, this sport, and hopefully one of them pulls it off.
Kenny, you have a very, very nice filly, as you just mentioned, Swiss Skydiver. There would be no question that if Mike Smith was allowed to travel from California to New York, that he would be on this filly today. Am I assuming that, or is that a fact?
Well, he wasn't supposed. The reason why he got a chance to ride her in California is because we didn't want to take Brian Hernandez west because of the pandemic, and then so Mike got that opportunity because of that reason. More than likely, Brian Hernandez would have ended up riding her, but the logistics for this whole year have been very unusual, and every time we've shipped her around, we've in some cases had to change riders, and in this case, Tyler Gaffleone rides today because Brian can't come from Kentucky and Mike can't come from California. So, and Gaffleone broke her maiden. So, it's just the way it played out.
I don't think that you lose a lot. Tyler Gaffleone, one of our favorites here on this radio program, and is really developing with more experience. And the fact that he'll have a whole entire Saratoga under his belt come the conclusion of this. But Kenny, quickly, I know this is a busy day for you. I want you to elaborate a little bit if you can. You said it's been an unusual year. We all know what we're facing on all fronts, but be a little bit more factual to us in regard to how it's been that different.
Well, the hard part's been the logistics of the staff. We can't move our staff easily. We have to have COVID tests. We have to make sure that everybody's wearing masks. We were unable to send a full string to Saratoga this summer because we didn't have enough staff in place that could travel. And I think it's been safer not to send a big string of horses because once our staff, our team gets their home base and where we can keep the horses, I think it's better for everybody. So it's been unusual. We've been dealing with it, and I've got some great people that work for me. This filly has managed to travel around quite a bit this year, and we've been careful wherever we went, and fortunately we haven't had any outbreak in our barn, but we're going to continue to be diligent on all that, and it's a lot of stables are dealing with it. So I think the racing industry, for the most part, has done a great job.
I would agree with you. I ditto that 100-fold, without any doubt. Kenny, you've always been so honest with us, and I reflect to the day that when you were on, and we always asked you, and I'm going to go to Tommy D real quick, right after I pose this question to you. We always ask you, Kenny, tell us about 4 or 5 horses that, that are in your barn that are working very well. And you've been so open to us. And Daddy's Little Darling. I'll never forget the moment when we watched Daddy's Little Darling almost win the Kentucky Oaks. It was, that was after you came on. You told us, watch for this filly. She's going to be very good. How is she doing?
She's bred to Galileo. She actually, I believe, is in Ireland right now because she was sold at auction. And Eskimo Kisses, another one we had, was sold at auction and was bred to Curlin, and she's in Japan. So those are 2 top fillies we've had a really good run with. But and there's a future out there. I've got horses like Simply Ravishing. Write that one down. That's a really good filly. Crazy Beautiful just won the stake at Ellis Park, and she's got a big future. I've got a colt named King Fury that we're dying to get to the races soon. He's going to make his first start. Had another one, Drop Anchor, was a horse that just broke his maiden, and he's going to I think he's got a chance to be a Derby horse next year. So,
give me the first 2 again. I was a little late getting to my pen to paper. The first 2?
Simply Ravishing.
Nice.
And Crazy Beautiful.
What great names.
Yeah, exactly.
Tommy D, for our man, Kenny McPeek. He's live at Saratoga on a big day to see Alabama. Tommy, you take it away.
Kenny, great having you on. Big fan of the Swiss Skydiver here. Just a quick questions. I know running against the boys in the Bluegrass, impressive to take on the boys. Losing to Art Collector, but Art Collector coming back and winning big last time out. First question would be: how does Swiss Skydiver come out of the race, and how is she liking Saratoga?
She settled in up fine up here. She is a filly that's very well traveled, probably more than any horse in the nation this year, and she adapts real quick to wherever we're located. And she's a great eater. Is the great thing about her is that she eats better, probably as good or better than any horse I've ever led to the race. And that makes my job a lot easier. And she's obviously very talented.
Tommy D, follow-up question, Kenny McPeek.
Yeah, Kenny, the other question I would have is I was looking at the one horse that you did mention. You were pointing to this race. Ortiz chose to be the rider aboard there, and I know you said Gaffleone broke a Swiss Skydiver. What made your decision? Was that the main decision because Gaffleone was up on Swiss Skydiver before?
Yeah, because he had ridden her before. He didn't get a chance to ride her back during the winter because of she just went a different direction. And we're, anytime a rider's familiar with a horse, you're better off. And he came out and got on her one day this week. Everything went fine there. And I think he's an ideal choice here. He's riding well here in Saratoga, and we didn't have to ship him in, and he's all ready to go.
All right, let's go up to Zapper, wherever he might be. He might be at Santa Anita or nearby Arcadia. Must be like 200 degrees up there. For Kenny McPeek, Zapper, and a good morning to you, my man.
Yeah, good morning, Felix. And Kenny, congratulations on, just having your recent success. And Swiss Skydiver, I'm the bloodstock agent that bought Venetian Harbor, and watching her, Venetian fight you off at about the 8th pole, and then watching you win that fantasy. And then obviously I saw you come to Santa Anita, and kind of took a lot of, it took a lot of cojones to run against the boys in the Bluegrass. What was your thought going into even losing the Bluegrass to such a nice horse like Art Collector, but the fact that you tried it with her, you must really feel she's got the constitution maybe of a colt?
She really does. Any other year would have been a no-brainer. We probably would have gone into the Ashland. En Boutant was a filly that we felt like was coming into the Ashland pretty good, and I thought if there was a chance that Swiss Skydiver could be beaten, En Boutant would give her a run. And Peter Callahan, I told him, I said, I really hate running these fillies against each other. Can I nominate to the Bluegrass? He said, sure, no problem. Go ahead. And then when we looked at the past performances for the probables for the Bluegrass, it was a one horse. There was one horse to beat, and it was pretty clear that on the Ragazins, the sheets, and really any other speed figures, that the only horse we had to worry about was Art Collector. And if we could beat Art Collector, we were going to have a big chance. The other factor is that we had an 11-pound weight shift with Swiss Skydiver going into that race. So Art Collector had been carrying 18. He was going to have to carry 123. We had carried 124, and we were going to go down to, I believe, 118 because we got 5 pounds less than the colts. So I'm getting an 11-pound weight shift, and I knew I had one horse to beat, and unfortunately I still couldn't beat him. So, I've won the Bluegrass a couple of times. I've won the Bluegrass with horses that Swiss Skydiver, I have no doubt, could outrun. I mean, I won it with Java's War back in 2013, and he couldn't have looked her in the eye for any point in time. But it's one of those great races, and we felt like, okay, let's see if we can do something unique. And I think for the most part, people enjoyed it, and unfortunately, we were a good second.
Hey, Kenny, we're 1 month away. We're 1 month away from the Kentucky Derby. Well, are you prepared to run on Kentucky Derby Day? You got anything on the undercard? Anything that you might have along the Triple Crown Trail?
I'm going to run Drop Anchor in the Iroquois on Derby Day, and I've got a list of other young horses that are going to probably run that weekend. Signal Man, who ran in the Preakness last year, is going to run on Derby Day. And then Oaks Day, of course, the 4th. I've got some others there. And we'll be real active starting the 1st of September at the Churchill Meet. I'm going to run, we're based in Kentucky, so I'll have a lot of horses prepared for that weekend.
Would you assume that the horses that are going to be a part of the Derby would have to be ridden by the jockeys that are riding as a colony at Churchill Downs and no outsiders like they're doing right now?
There's already a scramble for riders down there, and I've been kind of in the middle of a lot of that. But there a lot of people working on trying to find jocks. That's my daughter in the background.
I thought it was Tommy D. I thought we had a little children hour here. I was looking at our executive producer, looking like, where's this sound coming from here? But anyway, that's perfectly okay. Your daughter feeling pretty good. So you have a lot to look forward to, and I know that the Churchill Downs group there have put a cap of 24,000 on track there, and so I think the restrictions and the protocols will go in place will be unlike any other, and it just doesn't seem like a Triple Crown, but you'd have to give a lot of respect to the connections. And I was going to ask you your thoughts on 'Tis the Law.
Freaky performance last weekend. I mean, I do think it's a 2-horse race between him and Art Collector, but Kentucky Derby is a funny thing. A lot of stuff happens, and if a horse takes to the racetrack, and like Tiz the Law, I think his worst race on his record was at Churchill. So, there's no guarantees, and even today, there's no guarantee. It's this is a graveyard of favorites, so a lot of stuff happens. We're not going to assume anything. We're just going to go over and give it our best effort. And, Kentucky Derby's wide open still.
You always do, Kenny, and thank you so much for giving up your time. I just want to ask you one final question. Are you launching your campaign of where we are mid-August now? Are you zeroing in on the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland? Is that where your major focus would be as a launching pad?
We've got a lot of horses that are pointed that direction. I think I've got probably 4 or 5 or 6 2-year-olds that I think could be highly competitive in the juvenile races. You'd like to think Swiss Skydiver would be ideal for the distaff. I love the fact that it's in Kentucky this year, so we don't have to travel, and that's a big bonus for us. And hopefully we can get some others that fit the Breeders' Cup ticket too.
Kenny, go to work today. Get the Alabama under your belt. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Hey, Felix.
It's a pleasure.
Don't forget to plug the Horse Races Now app for people on me again. We released a new version.
Well, why don't you do that?
Well, I mean, for people that don't know, we created a horse racing app called
Very
Horse
nice.
Races Now. It's easy. You can plug it into your phone through the Android or iPhone Play stores, and you can put your favorite tracks, horses, trainers, jockeys, and then you get alerts where you can follow horses. So, in other words, if you download the app and you put trainer, click on the trainer, follow trainer. Just punch in the last name of whatever favorite trainer. And, of course, after listening to this, it's McPeek, right?
Of course.
So punch in that, you add, and then after that, you get notifications on all our runners. It's really simple. It's easy. It's free. We have an advertising version and we have a paid version, which eliminates the ads, which is the way it works nowadays, of course.
Yep.
And it works. I think we've got 800,000 people that have downloaded it worldwide.
Absolutely.
It continues to grow, 7,000 or 8,000 users a month. It's all about it's easy to follow. Horse Races Now.
Yep. And, you were a pioneer in that category of bringing that. You put a lot of hard-earned money into developing this app, and I think that the industry they weren't very kind to you in regard, because there would be no question for Horse Races Now to be an ADW, which would have, had you garner some revenue to pay for the perfect production of what you've done. It was and you shared with me off the record how much it cost to develop that and how much money you put into it. And the industry should have been a little bit more complimentary and easygoing in supporting the great idea you have, Kenny, and you deserve a lot of credit for that.
We've built the machinery to take bets, but the problem is that the sport doesn't want us to take market share of Twin Spires and Express Bet and Naira Bets. And so those 3 big entities who also own the tracks and the content don't want to allow us to show racing, which is disappointing because we believe it needs to grow. And they won't let us take bets because they don't want us to take market share. And the truth is they're probably right, because if they let us take bets, we're going to take a big market share.
Yeah, but you're still promoting the game. I mean, it has gone all line right now. The majority, with no fans on the track, it's gone, online, where that, you have to have your ADW. Del Mar does not. They share with TVG. New York has NYRA. Churchill has Twin Spires, as you have. But, it's not like the sport is going gangbusters right now. I think that, the racing should complement and support new ideas like you have created, and it's a service. I mean, it's not a backdoor service. It's a top of the line service that you have provided with quality video and a lot of content. And I think that the racing should embrace you and say, hey, boy, we need more of these. But Kenny, we got to fly. Always a pleasure. I will follow up. Good luck. We'll be watching from California, watching your two fillies run in the Alabama. Hope that one of them gets to the winner's circle.
Thank you, guys.
You got it. Kenny McPeek joining us live from Saratoga. Thank you, Wade Taylor, inside the studio. Back to Zapper we go on a Saturday morning. Kenny McPeek, Zapper, when he comes on, he always shares with horses that are going to run big in the follow-up. And he's been uncanny in regard. Are you a big Kenny McPeek fan?
Well, I'm a fan of the Kenny McPeek system. I watch his people that go to horse sales for him and isolate some pretty good athletes, and he comes in and gives it the final look. And I think they have a good program of developing young horses. And watching Swiss Skydiver get developed this year, I'm a fan of that type of situation. It seems like not being afraid to run horses, like when she ran against the boys in the Bluegrass, and he developed her just nicely. And like he's been talking, he's been controlling the 2-year-old racing thus far at both Saratoga and Ellis Park. That Crazy Beautiful was crazy good last weekend at Ellis in a debutante stakes. So hats off to Kenny McPeek. He's getting it done, and he's getting it done with lots of high-quality horses. And it just seems like he doesn't worry about who's going to ride the horse. He doesn't worry about a lot of things that maybe other people overly think. So I give him credit for, he's going back today to Gaffleone, who, like he said, won on the horse. So he didn't sweat that Mike Smith won't be able to show up and ride that filly today.
Yeah, you're right about that. Let's get to it. Let's get to the Alabama, Tommy D. 500,000 is carded as the 9th race of a 11-race card from Saratoga. And I want to thank both of you guys for being patient, and more so to Wade Taylor for putting 5 lines together at a very short period of time of connecting everybody. So, Wade, the interview from Kenny McPeek, truly attributed to you working your magic. And we got a lot more on this show. I don't want to lose my focus, but I do want to say that Tommy D mentioned that the bombs were bursting yesterday at Saratoga. $100 horse ridden by Junior Alvarado. The pick 5 for 50 cents, paying $655,000. I don't know you two guys, but I've never seen a pick 5 on a regular racing day pay $655,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tommy D, what do you think about that? And let's get to the racing action.
Yeah, I mean, it's paying big. I mean, pick 5 is the best takeout for the big exotics. The early pick 5 is better at Saratoga than the late, but both are paying huge. And yesterday, if you somehow connected the dots, you got rewarded. I thought there might be a carryover when that $100 horse came in, but somebody connected and hit that pick 5, and that's what we're all doing here. We're all.
Have you ever seen a pick 5 is that big, Tommy D? $655,000.
I personally have not seen one that big. I've seen pick 6s, but never a pick 5 to my knowledge that I've seen personally.
Yeah. I did know that as well. Let's go to the Alabama, and that just goes to show you that on any given day, any horse could win, and a nice juicy payout there. And, there's been a lot of single tickets around the country. Del Mar had a couple. Gulfstream paid $61,000 on the mandatory payout last Sunday. And so, I guess that's the pool. Zapper's always said, well, what's the pool? And what pool are you in? And I think that's what pool we're in. All right, Tommy D, go to the Alabama. And if we think it's going to be Swiss Skydiver, then we can go backwards and we can go to the 8th race. That's right. We can go to the 8th race at Saratoga, which is the Saratoga Invitational. So what do you have in regard to the Alabama, Tommy D?
Yeah, first look, Felix, I thought Swiss Skydiver might be the horse here, possibly a single, but taking another look and after talking to a friend, we decided that Swiss Skydiver could possibly be the one to be beaten. And after listening to Kenny McPeek this morning, and the one horse, Evil Tante, ridden by Ortiz. That's why I was asking him that. Nice workout on the track. been pushing this horse for this race the whole time. I like the one horse at 8-1. Crystal Ball, Bob Baffert, Spice is Nice. I think maybe you try to take a shot and beat Swiss Skydiver. If you take a look at Swiss Skydiver, it's traveled Tampa, Fairgrounds, Gulfstream Park, Oaklawn, Santa Anita, Keeneland. The horse has to get tired eventually. She is an exceptional horse to take on the boys last time in the Bluegrass, and she can win this race, Felix. Don't get me wrong. But I think that we might be able to find a price here and possibly maybe spread in this race and connect, on that pick 5 later.
So who's your key choice?
I like the one after talking to him. I wasn't as strong on the one before, but after listening to his word, I like the one Envolante at 8-1. I also like 3 Crystal Ball, and then also the last one I'll mention is 6 Harvey's Little Coil. But I think you could even maybe spread in this race and get lucky. You got to take a shot somewhere. Maybe today's the day.
Well, those 4 that you mentioned are looking at the Briss and looking at some strong numbers. And how could you bet against J.L. Ortiz or any of the Ortiz brothers? However, for the last couple of days, they've been they didn't win a race, I don't think, on the last 2 days, or they might have won one, if that. But keeping an eye on them, and you have the right players. Mott goes to his main man, Junior Alvarado, and Harvey's Little Goal. Then you have, the Swiss Skydiver with Tyler Gaffleone. You don't lose very much because I think Tyler is really getting a lot of experience riding his first full summer at Saratoga. But Zapper, what do you think about it in the Alabama?
Felix, first you have to ask yourself, it's 10 furlongs. Who's going to get to 10 furlongs? Yes, at 1 mile and 16th, maybe even 1 mile and 1/8. Swiss Skydiver is probably a standout. But there's a couple of fillies I think that are going to handle the distance better than others. And one is the Bill Mott trained Harvey's Little Goyle, the 6-horse. Tappan Mare by American Pharaoh. So that's 1.25 miles on both sides. I love the return to dirt off of the impressive grade 3 grass score last time, going 1 mile and 1/8. I think this filly just has a nice high galloping gear to her, and I think Junior Alvarado is going to put her right off the pace and just hope when the other fillies are not getting the distance. He knows one thing. These jockeys are going to know one thing, that the 3 Crystal Ball is going to try to keep the favorite Swiss Skydiver busy early. So the real running starts at the quarter pole, and Bill Mott's not here, I think, to pick up a graded placing. He's here to win this race. So I'm going with Junior Alvarado, who had 2 wins in that pick 5 sequence, including the 50-1 shot yesterday, and he's the go-to guy for Bill Mott. So let's go with an upset here. Number 6, Harvey's Little Goyle, to take this year's Alabama and maybe cause another nice payoff in that late pick 5.
Yeah, without any doubt, I agree with you 100%. Mott uses Junior Alvarado. He won last week on a nice 7-1 shot, a first-time starter, and Mott likes that combination. Junior's riding very well. Larry, any other race in the Saratoga card that you might have a value at on the Reader's Digest version as we scamper along here?
Saratoga Derby Invitational. This is a new race that started last year for three-year-olds. The key here is 1 mile and 3/16. Another race where distance matters. Decorated Invader will be a heavy favorite. The horse to beat, he's the 2-horse for Christophe Clement, who's having a wonderful summer at Saratoga. I think this horse has to be used, but if I'm going to try to beat it, it's with a Chad Brown European horse, and that's the 4 Domestic Spending. This horse last time in the Hall of Fame Stakes at the beginning of the Saratoga meet was really looking for more distance at 1 mile and 1/8. Gets it today. So I think I'm going to go too deep here, but the 4 Domestic Spending offers value. The 2 Decorated Invader, just a horse to beat, and a horse that's very sharp as a 3-year-old for Clement.
Clement has been, as you mentioned, he's been brilliant. He's been brilliant from 2020, and he's been right there. And, boy, Rosario, you talk about, I've always been a trainer, jockey kind of guy. I love that jockey-trainer combination. I go back. Greg Lawler told me that a long time ago, that, you got to watch certain trainers use certain jockeys and through the years, like Bill Spar and Lafitte Pinkai Jr. or Ron McAnally and Chris McCarron. And we want to tell you that we're going to have Alex Solis come up here, talk a little bit about Mel Stute. Our condolences, the whole racing world. Mel Stute passed away this week in Del Mar at the age of 93. And we'll never forget Snow Chief, will we? So from all of us in the racing world, and especially here at Track Talk Radio, to you, Mel Stute, and your fans and your family and everybody who loved you, as I spill my coffee inside the studio, everything is just absolutely gorgeous on this Saturday morning. It's amazing. Like, let's go to Cece. Cece Ryder is joining us from Creating Capital. Cece, at top of the morning, how are you, my friend?
Great, Felix, and yourself?
I'm doing good. What do you got for us?
Well, with our Del Mar play of the day here, we're going to a state-bred race, optional claiming 20,000, race 7 at Del Mar, 5 furlongs on the turf. And we're going to settle on a horse, Doc Tommy, Haranas Racing and John Sadler. We really like this horse here. He's 6-1 morning line. Interesting thing, the first race that they put this horse in was a $100,000 stakes at Pleasanton. And then he came back and ran a $61,000 maiden special weight at Del Mar. Finished 5th there, took him up to Golden Gate in a $39,000 maiden special weight, won by 4 lengths. Ran again in a $50,000 stakes at Del Mar right after that and missed by half a length. And then they ran him 5 furlongs on the turf here at Del Mar. He got checked at going into the turn, so he never really had a chance to get moving. The thing about those first 4 races is his Brisnet speed ratings went up each time. And the last time before this race where he was checked is well over par for this race. So we just feel like without trouble, this horse should be right there. Juan Hernandez definitely more than capable and has ridden him in 3 of his 5 races to date. So that's our play for Del Mar, our long shot play of the day. Our suggested wagering strategy is 2 units to win, 6 units to place, and 12 units to show.
All right, you got the John Sadler and Juan Hernandez really doing well as Juan Hernandez. That's CC from Creating Capital, and we want to shout out to John, who pinched hit for CC last weekend and going to Vegas. Oh wow, what a finish in that race! Could have been 1-0, John, but a great job that you did on the radio. We got Alex on. Not yet. As we move forward here on this Saturday, as I shared with you, we're trying to get as much done in an hour as possible. So let me go back to Tommy D while you make the connection, my good friend inside that studio. So Tommy D, let's go to Del Mar. What do you have at Del Mar that you think might have some value aligned to it?
So the Del Mar card does look, I think there's some value here. I thought that maybe between the 2, the early pick 5, but I took a look at a horse in the 4th race. It's an allowance race, and I'm taking a look at the 6 horse, Convex. This horse did break its maiden last time, but it won by 11 impressively on the Del Mar track off the bench. You got McCarthy and Hernandez here. You got 4-1. That's in the 6th race. That's 6 Convex. Going to try to take out the favorite, number 1, Ranamamo. So that's the horse to beat, but number 6 is my play there in race 4, Felix.
Yeah, with Michael McCarthy, without any question about him. I mean, he's having a great summer, and like I shared, it's always funny who I run into, and I ran into him early on 3 times now, and so a hard worker, and I like him. Longtime assistant for Todd Pletcher, who he left California and he went back and he worked for Pletcher. Earlier in the week, we learned that one of the favorites in all of thoroughbred horse racing passed away. And I go back a long way with Mel Stute. And always had a smile, always had time. And I reflected in regard to the time when Mel Stute was on the top of his game. And no one better to share that is my friend, Hall of Fame jockey, Alex Solis, joining us here on Track Talk. Alex, at top of the morning, how are you, my friend?
Hi, hey Philip. Nice talking to you. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, brother. Just I'm sure that, like you see what's happening on the backside. You are working with Mr. Mandela, and you see all the changes that we had to go through. You see the changes that the trainers have to go through, the jockeys, the agents, and so it is what it is. And so everybody's trying to do their part to get through it. But Alex, when I think of Snow Chief, I think of you, and at that time, I believe you were building your brand in Gulfstream. You and Mel Stute became a very, very connected jockey trainer combination. What do you remember the most about that experience, Alex?
Well, when I moved here from Florida, he was the first person that helped me out. Uh, he gave me a great opportunity. I was very fortunate to pick up a horse like Snow Chief that really opened the doors for me here. Incredible man. I love them very much. He's a very loyal guy. Everybody loved him in the barn, all the workers. Every morning he'd bring donuts to the barn. And one of the great things that I respect about him, not only being so loyal, I think I rode for him for 20-some years, never got mad at me. And I was one of those guys that when I rode a bad race, I was the first one to say, listen, blame this on me. And there were a lot of guys that they would get mad and say whatever they think. Mel was one of those guys that never say anything. The only thing he said, don't worry, Chief, we'll get him next time. He's incredible man. And I'm just so disappointed that he wasn't inducted to the Hall of Fame while he was alive, that he's well deserved.
You know, Alex, it's been our campaign for a long time. You and I go back a long way. Every time I've called on you, my friend, you've always been there as a friend. You know that our friendship is very, very solid. But, that man and his brother, the late Ken Daniels, my racing partner, we had, and there might have been Zapper at the time as well, going back, that we had Warren Stute on horseback doing his interview for our radio show. And I've always contested that Mel and Warren should have definitely been in the Hall of Fame, and now they won't be able to experience it live, because they both since passed, but they should be in there. I want to ask you, and I remember this, is that Snow Chief was a big black horse, and you won the Santa Anita Derby and you won the Florida Derby. And then I believe you were the even money favorite in the Kentucky Derby, and I think you ran 11th. I think that was the year that what was Charlie?
Ferdinand.
Ferdinand. That's right. Okay, I had a mental lapse there. Ferdinand won it, and then you got revenge in the Preakness. And you won convincingly in the Preakness, and Mel opted to not go in the Belmont, but go in the Jersey Derby, and you shipped to New Jersey, and you won that race. I mean, Mel must have been on seventh heaven to have a horse like that for so many years. He began his career in 1947 in Portland, and, this is 1986 we're talking about, so that's almost 40 years after, and he's on top of his game. But and he loved racing. Do you know anybody that loved racing more than Mel Stute, Alex Solis?
Well, for one thing, him and Warren, there was at that time, there were so many incredible horsemen. You go from Charlie to Warren Stute, to Mel Stute, to Wheeler, Proctor, Mandela, and Bruce Headley, and it was incredible. You go to the backside of those years, it was incredible. We were very disappointed in the Kentucky Derby. Snow Chief didn't handle the track at that time. Of course, Mel being Mel, he was disappointed, but right away he's such a positive guy. He said we're gonna go to the Preakness and give him hell. And yeah, he sent them there, and like always, does a great job, and the horse won. And then he decided that he want to go in the Jersey Derby. He want to, but one of the things that you have to really respect of Mel, he was one of those guys that go and buy horses for $20, $30, $50,000. You know, he never got one of those horses that were $300 to $500 million horse, and he built his career with that kind of horse. And that is something that you have to respect. The same as Bruce Headley. There's another guy that should be in the Hall of Fame. You know, he was not only an incredible person, friend, loyal, but he was a great horseman.
Alex, if you had one face-to-face conversation with Mel Stute today and you looked at him and that was their final conversation, the final words, what would you share with him? What would you tell him?
I said, thank you, Mel, for opening the doors for me. Thank you for being so loyal to me, because one of these things when you're young and you start in your career, you need guys like him. Why? Because if you lose a race, you know, the owner might want to get somebody else, whoever is at the top of the standing. And during those days, you have Schumacher, Lafitte, you have De La House, you have Pat Valenzuela, Gary Stevens, Fernando Toro. You can shoot for any of those guys, but no, he stayed loyal. He stayed loyal with me, you know, to me.
That was Mel Stute. Rest in peace, Mel. Warren definitely should be inducted in the Hall of Fame. Alex, thanks for joining us on a Saturday. I look forward to seeing you. Hope that you are well, the family, and I will catch up with you. Thanks again for being on the program.
You're welcome, buddy.
All right, man. Thank you. I wish we could see you soon, like have a nice bottle of wine around a great dinner like we used to have without wearing these masks. All right, we're waiting for Double T, Toby Terrell. Gabby's going to be joining us here. We're going to get Gabby on, but I want to go back to Zapper. Zapper, you looked at this Del Mar card. You know, you got 3 or 4, 5 maiden races out of this 11 race card, Zapper, so that if you don't play maiden races, you only have 6 races to play. Which races do you play, Zapper?
Well, if you don't play maiden races, you're not going to be playing many Del Mar races today. Just, you know, we need the maiden races to help fill these cards. And I always enjoy the 2-year-old stretching out. And that's the 5th race today, going a mile on the turf. And you mentioned Michael McCarthy. Well, we got involved, myself and my client Joe Ciagli, with Michael McCarthy a few years ago when we sold Eclipse, his big owner, the filly Paved, and we stayed in for a leg, and it worked out beautifully. And we have another horse with Michael McCarthy, and he's the 1 horse in race number 5. We share the horse with Eclipse and Gary Barber, who's spending a lot of money and not going into retirement without the action he craves. And this colt run twice second, Felix, but he's the son of Sky Mesa. He's out of a Gulch mare who won the Met Mile, I believe, twice. So Eagle in the Sky, the 1 horse. I think even though he's 5-2 on the morning line, I think they're going to overbet the Mandela horse, the 4 horse Kazan. So I really think we're going to offer a little value here. So number 1, Eagle in the Sky, I believe is a single. I just think he's been waiting to go 2 turns on the grass, and he gets it today. But if you're talking about value that's not a maiden race, I think the 7th race offers a little value. And I kind of was impressed with Mike Pipey's horse, the 4 horse Dreamers Reality, breaking its maiden. And this was in 2018, Felix, down the hill. You remember that race when we used to run down the hill? Well, this horse comes back with a steady string of works from Mike Pipey. And even though we're talking about a 2-year layoff, I like a horse. He's going 5/8 on the grass today. I like the way he won that day. I kind of waited a long time for this horse. 8-1. I think Mike Pipey, very capable with layoff horses. Number 4, Dreamers Reality, I think is value for me in the latter part of today's card. That's race number 7, and he is the 2 horse.
Yeah, is that like your horse from Gulfstream or Saratoga last weekend in the final race that scored $11.80 on a nice run? You set that up. You analyzed the race going to be off like it ran, and It was the 4 or the 3 or the 4. It was the 3 horse, and I think it was the 12th race at Saratoga that you scored. Let me go down to Florida and our lovely Gabriella Matafella, and she's joining us on the radio Track Talk from coast to coast. Gabby, we're so far behind, but you have a selection for us at Gulfstream Park. Take it away, and good morning to you.
Good morning to you. So, such a pleasure always speaking with you and your upbeat attitude, especially with everything going on. You keep horse racing still alive and the fans being able to be up to date on what's going on. So you keep up the good work, I should say. Yes, Gulfstream Park, I'm going to stick because I watched the first race at Gulfstream Park. Peter Walder just took that race with Mustang Cat. It's a 12-5 claiming race with Miguel Vasquez. And both trainer and jockey really have a 24% win percentage, I should say. So I ended up choosing race 4 here at Gulfstream. It's an $8,000 claiming race at 6 furlongs. I'm going to go with number 6, Beast of Wildwood, trained by obviously Peter Walder, ridden by Miguel Vasquez. So hopefully the 4th race will bring a double win for these two guys.
All righty. Who do you like at Saratoga? I know that we talked about it. That you looked at the stake races. Who do you like in the Alabama gap?
You know what? In the Alabama, I like the number 5 Swiss Skydiver, Kenny McPeek horse, Tyler Gaffleone, the Florida native. This horse really has ran in every possible track that you could think of, from the East Coast to the West Coast to the Mid Coast. There's no Mid Coast, but there is today. So I'm really impressed with him. And then Crystal Ball. How can you go wrong with that for Casiano? So number 3, number 5 are the ones I like for the Alabama Stakes in the 9th race here at Saratoga.
All right, Gabby, we will check in with you next weekend. Thank you. Sorry we are moving along here. Kenny McPeek on the radio program, Alex Solis, Larry Zapp, Tommy D. We got it all now. Only if the double T would make the connection. But Zapper, what does that mean quickly? That if you have 5 maiden races out of 11 races, does that say that there aren't any other horses that fit the conditions, or we got an overload of maidens at Del Mar?
I think we have an overload of maidens at Del Mar. It just so happened on this day, with they're running more races per day, you're going to get more maiden races. Normally we wouldn't have 11 races. We lost those few races, so they're making it up each racing day. But I kind of personally, being a guy who visually likes to see the horse, and I got to give Del Mar a lot of credit because I watch Saratoga and Del Mar all day, and they show the horses very well in the paddock, in the post parade, going to the post. So a lot of us people, especially during these times, Felix, need to see these horses on the screen and need to see them moving. And Del Mar has actually done a great job showing us the horses, because I know guys like you, Tom Quigley, myself, we're used to seeing them walking right out of that paddock at Del Mar, that with all those people around, and it's something we're definitely missing this year. But I don't mind, we got a Toby Terrell, so when he does come on, he sometimes gives those nuggets of information about a horse training, catching his attention in the morning that translates to profits in the afternoon.
Yeah, without any doubt. You definitely have to look at him. Tommy D, we talk about this. We hang down there where Larry is referring to. We're not able to do it this year. And so the only eye that you have is, what they give you through that camera. And that's real important, Tommy D, and you understand that. I mean, you follow that rule almost to the T, where that you like to go down and take a look at the horses, and that's an advantage that you need to have in order if you're going to make a bet.
It's always an advantage to be down in the paddock to see the horses come out. You see how they're reacting. Also paying attention to the circle, seeing if there's a lot of people, owners, trainers, seeing how they're feeling. I mean, I pay attention to everything when you're in the paddock, but right now they take that away. So just zooming in on the horse and seeing how it's coming out on the track, how it seems, if it's sweating, and just paying attention to all that's really important. And the coverage that they're doing nationwide is pretty impressive. So I agree with Zapp. If you have the time to tune in and watch the horses, that's only going to, increase your chances of hitting big.
Without any doubt, you have to take a look at the animals. It's like looking at the athletes, and I'll tell you what, it's been pretty darn good. I'm losing my thought here. I wanted to make a mention of something that was really important, and I was ready to lay it out there. Oh, I know what I wanted to share, and it's the fact that last week's show was very good, boys. Very good. Tommy D, Larry Zapp, kudos to you. Both came in with some nice horses, some nice winners. Drayden Van Dyke, little radio magic, goes out there and wins 2 races and almost wins a third in a little bit of WS radio magic. And you talk about magic, the Double T is going to close another perfect show. My man, Toby Terrell. What's going on, Tobe?
Well, Felix, I guess we can start with Captain Obvious and say make sure to stay hydrated. And it doesn't matter where you are, especially if you're not at Del Mar. Zapper is so sharp that he looks at that weather forecast, and I'll tell you, he knows how to beat the heat.
It's record heats here. I mean, it's 82 degrees driving to the stadium. I walked in, and I looked at Wade, and I said, well, in all the years walking in from the parking lot to the studio, I've never felt this way. I mean, and my sinuses are the ones that tip it off. And yesterday, I kept on getting headaches, and it was a sinus headache. And I was thinking, like, oh, man, I hope I'm not getting sick. And then a guy said to me, you know how hot it is? It's almost 95 degrees. And I'm thinking, oh, my God. But anyway, we're here. It's hot. You guys are hot. Toby, a great show last weekend as I accolade Tommy D, Larry Zapp, and you. CC and John last week, pitch hitting for CC. CC being a great friend. We had Kenny McPeek on, Alex Solis talking about the beloved Mel Stute. And, I got to tell you something. I never have said this, and you could almost bet on it that, that I'll get some feedback from it. But our show, what we have assembled here, brings you the best of thoroughbred horse racing. The group here, Toby, TD, Tommy D, Zapper, CC, Gabby, Wade Taylor, the guests that we bring in here, we don't even get mentioned for anything. And I'm thinking like, wow, and then I look at the other shows in California and they didn't get mentioned by America's Best Racing. And I'm thinking, how can you be America's Best Racing? Because you got 5 thoroughbred horse racing shows on the West Coast and not one of them get nominated. Hey, look, if you want to nominate Ike's show or Pridman show or Jason Levine or wherever, you can go ahead with those Johnny-come-latelys. But we've been around a long time, and the strength of our radio show is the people that are on this radio program. Zapper, Tommy D, Toby Terrell. So without any more fanfare and patting ourselves on the back, or me patting myself on the back, because I am going to pat myself on the back after 25 years, because the last 2 weeks, I think our shows have been just over the freaking top and the best on the radio. You can either like me or hate me. I don't really care. But you got to respect what we bring to you. Kenny McPeek on Alabama Day. Alex Solis talking about Mel Stute, and rest in peace. Toby Terrell, let's go to work because you have a lot of maiden races to talk about. This is the Toby Terrell Show on the WS Radio Network. What do you have?
Well, the maiden races actually begin in race number 2 today, and it doesn't matter whether it's 2-year-old maidens or older maidens. It seems like Bob Baffert's got a bench that just keeps on going. And in this case, he's got a first-time starter that's on the rail with Big Money Mike Smith, who, by the way, will be doing double duty today. He'll be out here during lunchtime to work Honor AP before the races start at 12:30. And I will be providing the official time for that work, just like I did for yesterday's work for the Del Mar Derby from our good buddy Craig Lewis with his star Warren Showtime. But Baffert, he's got CHA in here. He's got Midnight Mystery in here, the Big Gray. I think the Big Gray, Midnight Mystery, might get it all done here out there on the lead. Then you go to the third race, which is a 5-furlong dash on the turf. Phil D'Amato is holding a hot hand of late, and he's got a horse in here named Tilted Towers that actually, if anybody watches tapes out there, you'll see why I like this horse today. He ran an eye-catching race with a lot of trouble. It's a tough race, but I think Tilted Towers could be the one in there. And then race number 5. By the way, Felix, did Zapper come on today?
He was here like clockwork. I mean,
wow, that's impressive.
Why? Do you think that he was suffering from heat stroke or something?
I'm worried about him. He's up there in Arcadia. I looked at that 10-day forecast, and I know that he and I share one thing in common. We absolutely refuse to use the air conditioning, and it's going to be a rough one. It's going to be rough, but that's good. It'll
cost you $1 million a weekend if you use your air condition, and, there's no reason why he can't come down here, This whole COVID has jolted every one of us, and people ask me, are you mad at Larry? I'm always, I'm good with Larry. We have a difference of opinion. We take a few weeks off. That's okay. Because Zapper, one thing is Zapper been brilliant today. I want to tell you, his analysis on the Saratoga Invitational was as good as it gets. So, everybody's been on, as we mentioned. We started off with Tommy D. They went to Kenny McPeek, had Larry Zapp, went to Alex Solis, or Cece from Creating Capital, my man Cece. And then we went to Alex Solis and Gabby from Gabby Sanchez. And then, talking back and forth. And Wade's putting this all together. And I really love Wade. And I want to thank the reason. They should give him an Eclipse Award. Wade Taylor deserves an Eclipse Award for continuing to promote this sport, as sometimes we don't know how to get out of our own way. And racing right now is, it's been fabulous at Del Mar. It's been good at Saratoga, but the industry has, had some major hurdles. And, I'm all in. I'll support it. And I want to shout out to our friends up there, OC Tavern, where I hung out with the Hoover yesterday, and just good people up there. Chris and Lisa, and they got the MMA fight going on out there tonight, and it should be a great afternoon. But a lot of racing action from coast to coast, and you have Monmouth. Frank Mariani called the races yesterday at Saratoga. And I didn't catch it. I just read about it somewhere. And congratulations, Frank. It must have been a great experience. So, all right, Toby Terrell, let me get back to you. We got another maiden race. What do we have here? You've been on a good roll, and you were looking for me at our secret spot at Seaside Market, but I wasn't there. I know that you came by, and when you walked out, you looked over on that Friday night, and you didn't see me. But you said, I wonder where Felix is. Okay, so here we go. What do you have in regard to the 8th race at Del Mar? We got 2-year-old fillies going 5.5. What you got?
Yes, we do. And we've got a good race here. We have Pete Miller actually with a horse that'll be a big price called Forest Caraway. And I believe this horse might have the late surge, the biggest kick. Certainly, hopefully, the fastest last quarter, which is what it'll take to win the race, because there is a lot of speed in here. But I do believe that Forest Caraway has a big, long stride, and if he can kick it in time, he might catch those horses softening up on the lead at a big price.
Hey, just remember now, 3 Northern California jockeys are here. Roberto Gonzalez, as he rides for Peter Miller and Forrest Caraway. You have Juan Hernandez down and Abel Cedillo, and they are riding lights out. Pratt seems to be the king of the turf. Rispoli getting ready to go. A very competitive racing. You got to watch those trainer combination. Valdivia and Hess was bet down from 10-1 to 4-1 yesterday and won like a champ. So you got to watch the board, and you got to. Where's your best bet, Toby?
Actually, in the 5th race, Zapper's man Joey C., as I like to call him, he owns a piece of this horse for Whitey McCarthy called Eagle in the Sky. And, I know Zapper will be watching this one intently because he's been waiting for this horse, as I have, to run on the turf. Today he'll be on that green Jimmy Durante turf course here at Del Mar, and hopefully gets a winning ride under the hands of Umberto Rispoli.
Toby, are these horses working like they're running? You're there every day. You're the eyes. You're one of the fortunate ones. haven't been able to get on track. Tommy D has not been able to get on track, and Larry Zapp has not been able to get on track. But you are the king, the emperor. Are they working as they are running?
You know, all is well here, Felix. I've certainly seen certainly more than my share, I would say, of horses that have been following up their performances where it counts in the afternoon, and some big prices, too. I know that to kick off the meet, very rarely does our man Zapper hand out giant accolades, especially my way. But when Gitti at the start of the meet ran lights out at 20-1 or 30-1 or something, he said, wow, I think you're on your game this meet. And I hope you stay there because we're going to ride the wave. And when you get back up here to Arcadia, there'll be a lot of big steak dinners waiting for you. So doesn't that all sound good?
Absolutely. And if you keep on releasing like you did last Sunday in the final race with Joe Herrick and Eswan Flores at 17-1, I mean, you're going to have steak and dessert, tiramisu, and maybe even a couple of bottles of champagne. Matter of fact, I got to continue to reach out to Derek Lawson, who is the agent for, because I forget that we bet a steak dinner. He liked Baltimore in the NFL, and I told him Baltimore would never get to the Super Bowl, let alone win the Super Bowl. And he took Baltimore, and I took Kansas City. And I said, if either one of our teams win the Super Bowl, we got to throw a bottle of champagne in. Zapper, where's your best bet, my man?
I think we have to go right back to that Alabama. 10-1 is too juicy of odds on a Belmont runner coming off a graded stake win. So number 6, Harvey's Little Goyle in race 9, the Alabama will be my best bet. But I just wanted to go out saying Mel Stute was one of a kind, Felix. I got a lot of chances to be around that legend of a man. And yes, I agree with you. Him and his brother Warren should be put into the Racing Hall of Fame because they earned it.
Yeah, just like Don Coryell should be in the Hall of Fame, the San Diego Charger coach. Tommy D, you're going to have the last word. Hope that Gianna and Luca Bear are just having a grand old time. Where's your best bet, Tommy D?
I'm going to go to race number 10 at Saratoga. Number 2, Shiraz, 4-1. Michael Maker, 2 for 2 in 2020. Winner. Ran a real nice race at Saratoga. So number 2, Shiraz in race number 10, Saratoga today.
All right. The only disappointment about today is I haven't seen you guys for a while. I mean, I catch, cameo appearances of glimpse of the train. That's Toby Terrell. I call him the train because he's like here, stops, and he's gone. He's, jerk. He'll stop and go. And then, you don't see him for a while. Great show this morning. Thank you, Wade Taylor, from all of the listeners out there at WS Radio, getting a lot of texts and a lot of emails, and we'll see you next week, huh? Tommy D, Larry Zapp, Toby Terrell, CC, Kenny McPeek, Alex Solis, Gabby Sanchez. Wow, I'll tell you what, I just ran 1.5 miles under these conditions, and I'm leading by 2 as we get down to the last 100 yards. Wade Taylor is going to hold on to win the $1 million WS Classic.
Have you tried DRF Formulator PPs at DRF.com? Take your handicapping to the next level with premium features not found in DRF Classic PPs, including one-click access to complete race charts, full-screen video replays with both standard and head-on views, add your notes for a card, horse, or trip, and access from any device. View Timeform US pace figures, get customized printing options, and so much more. Try DRF Formulator PPs today at DRF.com/PPs.